Okay, guys. Let's watch Even Dumber Ways to Die. Okay.
Imagine you're Rome. Yes, you're the empire itself, and you're minding your business when suddenly you see France collecting resources in your territory. You send an emote to let them know that, one, they shouldn't be here, and two, they're about to be crushed. You muster your troops and bring the hammer down on France when, oh no, it was an ambush. Rome is smashed by sneaky France. There's nothing left to do but retreat and gather your allies for revenge. This was a pretty stupid way to die, and is happening every day in Rise of Kingdoms, the epic strategy game. Use the link in the description to download now and get details on their upcoming giveaway. An American rock band once said, "Do you realize that everyone you know someday will die?" It's pretty obvious, but it's also quite a sobering thought. None of us will be here in, say, 130 years. Maybe this video will still be out there, a digital antique, and people will laugh at how weird we communicated when they see what you guys have written in the comments. So today, we will embrace the fact that one day we will all die. And you, my friends, can
Yeah.
now sit back and enjoy what we call the World Cup of ridiculous deaths. Number 8. Don't get friendly with some wild animals. Some people in this world of ours have mistakenly thought that wild animals are not actually that wild, and so they've gotten up close to what we might call natural-born killers in the animal kingdom. Arguably, the most famous case was that of a guy named Timothy Treadwell. If you haven't seen the movie about his exploits called Grizzly Man, we suggest you do at some point. Treadwell spent many of his summers in Alaska living among grizzly bears, animals that can rip a person's face off with one swipe. These animals are certainly fluffy and cute, but they are not the kinds of things we suggest you treat like a teddy bear. Treadwell was
Uh-uh.
actually cautious with the bears, but he also got up close to them. Too close. After 13 summers with the bears, parts of his clothing were found inside the stomach of a 28-year-old grizzly. His girlfriend was also eaten. So, yes, you have to be careful when you're around wild animals. It should be obvious, but it obviously isn't obvious to some people. There are a few recent cases of people being killed by wild animals. We don't mean to make fun of these people since their families are still grieving for them. But if we don't say anything, then we won't get the message across that you should not get up close to these certain beasts. In 2018, a man in India decided he wanted a selfie with a bear. It didn't end well, since the apex predator mauled him to death. Maybe you think
Yeah.
that's unusual, but
If
quite a
you
few
go to
people have
realize
taken mortal
you need
selfies with wild
to
animals.
watch the
In fact,
videos
the BBC
because
reported in 2018 that there had been a slew
yeah.
of deaths in India because people thought they could take selfies with elephants. Our advice is don't do it. It's not worth the likes on social media. In 2016 in China, a man thought it'd be a good idea to get up close to a walrus at a wildlife park and take a selfie. The walrus wasn't playing around though and pulled the man into the water and killed him. A zookeeper also died while trying to help the man. In 2015, officials at Yellowstone National Park had to issue a stark warning to all visitors. That was, please stop trying to take selfies with bison. Yep, there had been lots of cases
Bison
of people
is a
doing this, and while
buffalo.
no one died, some people suffered very serious injuries after being tossed around like a doll. It's like this. Some folks hit flies away with their hands.
Why you
They
guys
don't like
get too
bugs,
close to
but some
buffaloes?
animals don't much like humans being around them. Some of
Why?
them even want to eat you. Unfortunately, it gets worse than this, as you'll now see. Number 7. The gun just went off. If you search online for people who accidentally shot and killed themselves, you'll find that it happens quite often. Guns are not toys, and that's why they have safety mechanisms. There are too many cases of this happening to mention, and a lot of them happened in recent months and years in the USA. We found another case of a partygoer dying when messing with a gun. This happened in India in 2018. 3 guys were drinking when one man started showing off his pistol. The gun accidentally went off and the man died. It was reported in some Indian media that the guy was actually playing the game Russian roulette. He lost. If you don't know what that game is, it's putting one bullet in the chamber of a revolver, then spinning the
Mm.
chamber, and then you put the gun to your head and pull the trigger, hoping that the bullet isn't the one in the chamber. You'd think someone would have to be crazy to play that game. But if you look online, you'll find plenty of people who have died this way. Some cases are quite recent and happened in the USA. In Thailand in 2017, a man played this game with his wife. That was a very bad move because he ended up killing her. Be careful what you shoot at, too. In 1982, some guys in Arizona thought it'd be fun to shoot at a massive saguaro cacti. One of the men shot at a 26-foot tall cactus, and a bit broke off. It landed on him and crushed him to death. The moral of the story is never, ever play with guns. Don't become a statistic. Don't end up being talked about on the infographic show. The next dumb way to die is arguably even a bigger killer around the world. Number 6. Death by mushroom. Mushrooms grow everywhere,
Pepper
and some of the
mushrooms?
edible
Oh
ones
yeah,
sometimes
they
look a
are
bit like the poisonous
poisonous.
ones. You wouldn't believe how many people just pick up some wild mushrooms, go home, eat them, and die. There are
You know
growing
you have to
conspiracies
like
that most mushroom deaths happen in Asia, but not
take
all.
it
In
home and
2019, one
boil
pregnant
it,
woman died
then
and
eat
3
it,
others were hospitalized after they picked up
cause
some
it
wild
take all
mushrooms
the
they believed to be porcini mushrooms. They weren't. They were a much more
I forgot
deadly
what
death trap, which doesn't sound like something you do.
poisonous
The
and
lesson here is you should never pick your own mushrooms unless you are a
bacteria or
mushroom
something like
expert.
that.
There are lots of deadly mushrooms in this world of ours. These things have actually killed families and have injured or killed many people living in small communities. In 2014, 14 people in North Carolina became severely ill after eating mushrooms they had foraged. No one died, but they almost did.
Do
3 of
I
the people
eat
needed liver
mushrooms?
transplants. We
Yes, I
found other
do,
cases in the 90s where
but I
people
don't
died
eat
in
the
California
mushrooms
after picking mushrooms they thought they could eat.
all the
The
time.
mushrooms, again, were the death caps. Death caps look like something you could eat, but they also look a bit like magic mushrooms, the hallucinogenic mushroom. Not too long ago, 4 men in the U.S. became seriously ill after eating death caps. They thought they were going to get high and talk about the meaning of existence. Instead, they suffered severe liver damage. Okay,
It's
now
true, it
to the
will
realm
make
of
you
violent
high.
deaths again. This is not how you want to go. Number 5, be careful
You
where you
do eat
swim.
those.
It's not really a dumb way to die if you just swim and something decides to eat you. But it's quite dumb if you've seen all the don't swim signs that tell you the water is full of massive crocodiles. It's happened in Australia in recent years, with one case involving a young man ignoring the signs and taking a dip. That swim ended up with the man being partly eaten by a croc. It's happened in the ocean, where massive saltwater crocodiles have taken people's lives, but it's also happened in rivers. There's a stretch of water in Australia called East Alligator River. Would you want to enter that river? Well, the
Nope.
authorities in recent years have been saying people know very well that they should not go in the water, but they do it as a kind of dare. Some parts of this river you can wade across, and there's a notorious crocodile hotspot called Cahill's Crossing. One guy tried to cross in 2017 and he didn't get very far. A croc took him and killed him. When he was taken, he was only standing in ankle-deep water. You should always do what those signs tell you. We're not even going to mention how many drownings there are when people swim in the ocean when signs say don't because of the conditions. Just do what you're told. That's our advice. The next one probably kills more people than anything on this list. Number 4, treating cuts. We'll make this one short. Our advice is if you cut yourself and you have an open wound, then get it treated. Don't just ignore it because the cut might become infected. You know what? Scores of people don't treat their wounds and later they die from infection. In the 17th century, there was a famous case and involved a composer named Jean-Baptiste Lully. This guy loved dancing, and one particular dance he enjoyed involved banging a staff on the floor. One day he missed the floor, and he hit his foot. This caused a pretty serious wound, and it led to an infection. Lully was told at the time that this infection could kill him, and his leg would have to be amputated. The man said, "No, if I lose that leg, I won't be able to dance anymore." He died soon after. Now for something we might call completely disgusting. Number 3, overeating. Yup, some people just eat too much in one sitting and die. There's an old Monty Python movie that features a man in a restaurant that eats until he explodes. While that won't happen, people can die from consuming massive meals. It happened in the 18th century to Adolf Frederick, the King of Sweden, aka the man who ate himself to death. In one meal, he ate lots of his beloved lobster, dishes of caviar, some sauerkraut, some smoked herring, and he washed that all down with lots of champagne. After that, he had a whopping 14 servings of semla served with a bowl of hot milk. Semla is like cream bun. The meal was in fact not far from what the guy ordered in the Monty Python movie. The king didn't explode, but he couldn't digest that much food and he died. You could die of a reputed stomach, something you might have seen in the movie called Seven. The Lancet reported a case in the 1980s of a slim London-based model dying because she ate too much. That publication said she had consumed a half-pound of steak, 1 pound of liver, 2 pounds of kidney, 2 eggs, 1 cauliflower, 10 peaches, 4 pears, 4 bananas, 2 apples, 2 glasses of milk, 2 slices of bread, and 2 pounds each of grapes, plums, and carrots. It was just too much, and her stomach
Damn.
ruptured, which means to burst. Death by eating too much has happened at eating competitions too. A man in California recently died while taking part in a taco eating contest. The guy who watched the contest and saw this man eat said it was like he'd never eaten before. He was just shoving the tacos down his mouth without chewing. The guy collapsed during the contest. It's thought he choked to death. There are scores of stories of people dying after eating too much. Look online and you'll find them. One particular guy might have seen the movie Cool Hand Luke, because in that movie, Luke eats 40 boiled eggs for a bet. This happened in India, and it involved 2 men. One guy bet his friend that he couldn't eat 50 raw eggs in one sitting.
Ew.
The man got to 41 and died. Doctors said his death was simply caused by overeating. The next on this list is the most surprising and disturbing. Too much of a good thing can kill you, and that good thing could be a certain vitamin. Yes, consuming too many vitamins can be fatal. There's a famous case of a bunch of explorers that had a terrible time on an Australasian Antarctic expedition. 2 men died after falling into a crevasse, and 2 other guys got lost. They survived by eating the dogs they had with them. The men got back to the base camp, but they both fell very ill, and one of them died. First, he became terribly sick. His hair fell out. His skin peeled off. He became delirious, and then he died. Doctors now say those symptoms were in line with vitamin A overdose. The vitamins apparently came from the dog's livers. Those guys didn't have many options, but some people choose to get too many vitamins down them. In 1974, a health advocate in London decided to consume 70 million units of vitamin A in around 10 gallons of carrot juice over a period of 10 days. His skin turned yellow and he died. When you consume too many vitamins, you can suffer from something called hypervitaminosis. This can be deadly, and you can find instances of when it happened. You might get kidney damage and survive, but you might also give up the ghost. It happened to a 10-year-old boy in India in 2016. He was prescribed vitamin D supplements, but it was just too much and he overdosed. We found more recent cases in the US when people died after consuming too much vitamin D. In some cases, it's the doctors who are dumb, not the consumers. But we don't want to scare you from getting your essential vitamins. Just don't go crazy. And for this last one, you're going to see that many young folk die every year from doing one stupid thing. Number 1, deadly deodorant. Okay, so we all want to smell good, but you should know that people have died from using too much deodorant. These are sad stories, since the victims probably had an issue with how they smelled or what some people had said to them about their body odor, but they really shouldn't have gone crazy with the spray. In the 90s, a UK teenager died after spraying himself with deodorant all the time. It wasn't the fact that the stuff killed him by getting in his skin, but the fact that he sprayed it too often in a confined space. He died because over time he just inhaled too much spray. The autopsy showed
Why?
0.37 milligrams of butane per liter was in his blood. A level of 0.1 milligram per liter can kill you. It happened another time not that long ago in the UK. A young man was obsessed with his smell and he used deodorant all the time. In fact, an investigation found he had 45 cans of the stuff in his room. He inhaled too much and died. His mother later said he would not take showers but would stand there with deodorant and spray half of the can on. You can actually find lots of deodorant deaths that happened in the UK and the US over the last few years. It's happened to both boys and girls. We won't mention them all because there are way too many. What we will say is that you should know this can happen. We don't mean to make fun of those people. We want you to know the dangers. That's why those sprays usually come with the warning, use in well-ventilated places. Don't forget, civilization is calling you to battle. Immortalize your journey. Down.
Hi guys, I will see you my 5th one, so I see you then.